The most sex ed moment for me, anyway, was the fully produced music video with a rap and dildos.
We are in the studio. This is my house. You might recognise it. Today we're shooting a lot of stuff from episode 8, so if you've not watched it, I'm not going to give you any spoilers. Of course, we've still got all our faces from Mordell, which we know and love, and seeing how they interact with the new characters and the kind of new conflicts and drama and relationships that brings.
Cavendish College is a very forward-thinking place to be, and I think quite a culture shock for a lot of them. Already a lot coming in. It's very free-spirited, it's very open. People are all trying to do the right thing all the time, and they are very inclusive. It'd be a lovely place to go to school, but with that sometimes comes the feeling of, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And so I think Otis sometimes gets himself in a bit of trouble, which is even more annoying because then when he meets me, O seems to say all the right things. And it's really hard to be angry at someone who is kind of right in what they're saying, which I think is really fun to play.
Sounds really cliche, but it's like a roller coaster.
Yes.
Because it was really exciting, because obviously we've come in new this year. It's previously been designed by the same person for the first 3 series, so coming in as like a new team, taking on something new is really daunting, but also
exciting.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a bit like a new chapter.
This year's, there's been a lot of like sort of gender fluid storylines and sort of pushing the boundaries and people accepting themselves for, you know, whoever they are. Some of the new characters who are trans and that sort of thing, so sort of delving into those storylines and those personal stories, like getting so much from the actors as well about their experiences.
Especially like Roman and Abby, like our 2 trans characters, you know, and they're a couple as well. So we've had fun with kind of a sort of matching stuff with what they wear. I kind of had this influence, this couple on Instagram called the Young Emperors, and they kind of mirror each other's looks. So we kind of played around with that a bit, didn't we? So coming up with their looks, because again, Cavendish, it's all about sustainability and repurposing clothes. You know, everything's got a very green outlook to it. We've got all the iconic stuff still in, like Otis's coat. Bless him, he's still got the same coat that he had at the beginning of series 1. But it's iconic. I think what could potentially be iconic pieces, I think we've got Eric's look for the queer party was quite amazing, wasn't it? We had fun with that.
Wow, yes, baby. You look amazing.
So O is a sex therapist at Cavendish, and she's had her therapy clinic for quite a while. She's very personable and I think digs deeper than what people might think of someone. Doesn't take them at face value and really looks to see what is going on. So when Otis arrives and thinks that he's the top dog and that his sex therapy clinic is his original idea, doesn't quite go so well.
I think he's really found his voice, Otis. Obviously in season 1, no one really knows who he is, he doesn't really know what he wants to do, and then he finds his passion, that being kind of helping people, talking with people, and through that kind of learns a lot about himself. Obviously his relationship with Maeve is an important aspect, so we see how that develops this season, being in America, which is quite different, long-distance relationships. And then him and Eric, you know, they're inseparable, but as with any friendship, there can be cracks, so it's interesting to see how that plays out this season.
All the different looks that he has throughout the season. He's still wearing visible makeup, but it's not quite as loud as maybe we left him in series 3, because he's gone to a new school and he's not fully sure of what kind of school it's going to be, how accepting they're going to be of everyone. So we sort of start his makeup as quite colourful, but not quite as bold as where we see him at the end of episode 8, which is this look up here. I don't know if you can see this one. And this was an interesting makeup because Felix actually has the letters, the numbers 2001 tattooed on his chest. But obviously that's a bit of giving a game away of how old he is. So we needed to adapt the tattoo that said 2001, and the best way that we could adapt it was to put the 2 into an A and then the 2 zeros into a double B so that it says Abby. because obviously his girlfriend in the show is called Abby.
The most sex ed moment for me, anyway, was the fully produced music video with a rap and dildos.
My favourite scenes are always when we have a big group of people in, a lot of the actors in together, and it's a bit of a gang of us. We've had a few of those moments, like in episode 1 where we're just learning the ropes for this new school. Was a lot of fun. There's a few awkward speeches in front of lots of people that inevitably go wrong. All the bike riding scenes, they feel very sex ed to me. So me and Shooty, whenever we're riding downhill on our bikes having conversations, that feels like classic sex ed.
The logistics part of it is tricky. Like the next week that we've got, most of the days we're shooting 2 separate units, 2 different locations. No day is the same. As I said, we've always got, at any given sort of day of the week, I've got some of my team out prepping or striking a location elsewhere, while we have got probably 1 or 2 locations being filmed at. So it's an ever-moving sort of process with people scattered all over the place. For our department, we work quite closely with the director as well as production designer to set the tone of the show, to make sure that we work towards the vision, the collective vision.
The thing that makes sex ed so special is that it is putting young people in a very specific time in their life struggling to talk about sex, because everyone has that kind of taboo, I think, woven into them, and giving them a space to talk about it and to learn. And the show is so big now that I think audiences come to it hoping to find a little bit of themselves represented. And I think that is magical. I hope everybody finds themselves at some point, because I know what it feels like to watch something and go, oh, that's me. And it makes you feel less alone, and it makes things feel less scary. And I think that is the magic of this show, that hopefully people find themselves.